All right, so here's the agenda. So tonight, first thing I'm going to tell you is trademark secrets. What is a trademark and why they're essential for every entrepreneur? Now listen, if you're an employee, no shade, there's nothing wrong with it, but trademarks aren't for you. You don't need a trademark. But if you're here to grow a business, to build an empire, to become a mogul, you need to know about this. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about, trademark secrets. The second thing we're going to talk about is trademark magic. 5 ways to elevate your services and charge what you're worth. How can a trademark allow you to take something that's worth just a little bit and now be able to charge a lot more for it? I'm going to share that with you tonight. Third thing we're going to talk about is trademark transformation. This is my favorite one. 5 ways to add an extra 10K, 50K, or 100K to your business. All right, I'm going to show you that tonight. And then at the end, again, if you stay with me, I've got a little free resource that'll allow you to implement it all tonight for free, no startup charges or costs or anything like that. It'll literally let you implement the power of trademarks yourself, regardless of if you have experience, skills, all that kind of stuff. Let's go. All right, so getting started, just to introduce myself, hey, why should you listen to me? Again, I'm Audrey Chisholm, happy to meet everyone here. That is a picture of my family. Yes, I am married. Hubby and I have been celebrating and rocking together. We met at Florida State University, and I'm also the mom of 4 precious little ones. That's our tribe right there, okay? That's us in front of our home. A little bit more about me. Again, founder of Chisholm Law Firm. We're based right here in Orlando. We're a national practice. We do federal trademarks for clients all over the U.S. We've served over 7,800 clients. We have a 99.9% success rate. Let me give you a little bit of perspective. The national average to get a trademark approved is 49%. So most people that you hire, you're going to pay them and you won't get it approved. We have a 99.9% success rate. And again, 3-time recipients of the Inc. 5000 Award, which recognizes the fastest growing companies in the U.S. that earn at least $2 million a year in revenue. And that's my team, by the way. We have about a little under 20 employees. Okay, so let's start. Why do you need a trademark? Let me tell you a story. So at Florida State, I started a nonprofit, okay? I was excited. I was like, hey, I want to do something to give back and change the world. I felt like God gave me that great idea. I was like, let's go for it. And so doing the nonprofit initially was a little rough. Things weren't really working out, but I started learning and growing. That's important, okay? No one gets where they are without learning and growing. You're going to mess up. You're going to make some mistakes, but you've got to keep learning and growing. And so finally, I started getting some good momentum with the nonprofit, right? People were hearing about us. We're getting some good PR. We were cover of a magazine. We got honored and recognized by the Orlando Magic, by Chick-fil-A, all these corporations. We're getting sponsors. Things are really working out. And so one day I check my email, and I get this message, and I'm telling you, it just like struck fear in my heart. I was like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. I opened the email, and it said, hey, Audrey, so good to hear about the fundraiser you're doing, and in such and such. It referenced another state. And it said, yeah, you know, you guys just raised all that money, and it's so good to hear about the work that you're doing for the kids. And I'm reading the email, and I'm like, we didn't do a fundraiser in that state. What are they talking about? What's going on? And so by this time, I was in my first year of practicing as an attorney. I wasn't even doing trademarks then. I was just really helping nonprofits. So I'm like, that's odd. Let me look into it. And so I was like, okay, we set up our business, with the state. If you have a company, you know about that. You have to get your LLC or register your corporation. That's like step 1. Hey, you register with the state. And then we'd also register with the IRS. As a business, you do that too. You get your EIN number. That's like your social security number as a business. So I'm like, we've done all that. We registered the name. So how could someone be using our name in another state? And so I looked up this organization, and sure enough, they're using our name. They're having events. They're raising money. I'm like, what is going on? And so now here's where you want to make sure that you associate with good people. Because at the time, one of the smartest people I knew, and it's still the case to this day, was my husband. And so I looked at him, and I'm like, have you ever heard of this? How are they using our name, the name of the nonprofit, and I have it registered in the state? And he's like, oh, did you get a trademark? And I'm like, a trademark? Like, what's that? No, I registered with the state. I paid the money. Like, we, file our annual taxes and all that kind of stuff. Like, what's the deal? And so he just kind of explained to me, he's like, yeah, for my businesses, I have a trademark for this and a trademark for this. And he just like rattles off this list. And I'm like, okay. And so at that moment, I was just determined to learn and figure it out, right? I just went on this whole research thing where I'm like, okay, what's a trademark? What is it? How do you get one? What do I need? And then I started researching brands like Oprah and, Disney and Nike and all these big companies. And I'm like, how are they protecting themselves and how could this happen? And the thing that I learned is that when you register your business or your nonprofit in a state, that doesn't give you ownership of the name. Someone in another state can literally do the same thing. Shucks, there might be someone within your state doing the same thing. And this was just a game changer for me. So then I had to say, okay, let's go through the legal process, send a cease and desist to this other organization, go through and get them to stop. Thankfully it wasn't too costly because they saw I was an attorney and they saw the letterhead and they're like, okay, we'll ease up, we'll stop doing it. And they changed their name, et cetera. But that wasn't the only time that happened. That literally happened 3 other times, okay? And now, with the proliferation of social media and everyone just setting up websites and all, you can just go on Wix and put up a website and all this kind of thing. Like, it happens a lot. So that's what a trademark is, and that's why it's important, which is if you want to protect your name and stop other people from using it without your permission, that's what you need, okay? And so here's a little graphic to kind of, break it down in a really easy way. So what is a trademark? It's just a word, a symbol, or a phrase that's used to protect a product or service. It helps people to identify that product or service from someone else's. So let me give you an example. For example, we all know Nike, right? My good friend Greg over here is rocking his J's, okay? So we know Nike, that company. All right, so the name, they could trademark the name Nike. That would be a word mark. That's a trademark for a name. Then they also have trademarked the logo, the iconic swoosh that we see on everything, right? That's a logo. You can also trademark a logo. And then the last thing that they trademarked is their slogan, just do it, okay? So how does this apply to you? When you have things that you've created, you thought of an idea for your business, right? You have a name for a Facebook group. There's a service that you want to offer, a product, an e-commerce thing like the presentation we were listening to before. Those are all things that you should be owning to stop someone else from using it, all right? But why is that important? Like, what can happen if, you don't stop them? I like to call trademarks essential armor for entrepreneurs because what does armor do? It protects you, right? It protects you. So here you are doing all this stuff. You're promoting your brand. You're putting it out there. You've got your social media pages, and now you're stepping it up. You've heard the great advice from the other speakers, so you're investing in ads. You've got customers coming. Things are working out. But if you haven't owned that brand, guess what? Someone else can see what you're doing, and they'll say, hey, I'll just create an ad. Not me, of course, because I'm an honest and ethical person and God-fearing woman. But someone else could say, I'll just replicate that ad. I'll just copy what they're doing and have people come to me. And if you don't think this is the case, listen, we're on the Inc. 5000 list for a reason. People are having to get these because there's so much impersonation and false information going on the internet, all right? So 2 things that a trademark will do for you. The first is it'll help you avoid being sued. Because remember, this is a 2-sided coin. Just like someone can start using your stuff, here you go waking up at night thinking, the Lord gave you a creative name, but this happens to be the name of another brand that's already established, that already has a trademark. They're already protected. Now you're on the receiving end of getting that letter from their attorneys, okay? And the other person on the other side, they may not be as gracious. They may actually say, hey, and we want to sue you for damages. That means money, all right? So the first thing a trademark does is it protects you and allows you to avoid being sued. And then the second thing a trademark does is it helps you to protect your brand, meaning it keeps other people from using what you've done, okay, without your permission. And again, that's for a commercial purpose, right? You can't necessarily stop them from saying the name, but that'll keep them from doing something to make money off of you. Now, the next thing you're probably, thinking about as it relates to the trademark, though, is, but do I need that? Audrey, come on, I'm just getting started. I'm just trying to make some money. This sounds like just yet another bill, yet another expense. I don't know if I'm there yet. In fact, I don't even know if this is going to be successful. And so let me share just a mindset shift that really helped me, and hopefully it'll help someone here, okay? And the quote I shared is, successful people pay to get the payoff. So right now, you're waiting for the payoff, and you're like, hey, once it becomes successful, I'll get a trademark. Once it starts making money, I'll protect it. Once it, shows potential, then I'll do all these things I need to do, right? Because you're waiting for that payoff first, and then you're like, oh, then I'll treat it like it's something because it's proven that. But instead, successful people do the opposite. They do the things first, and those are the things that give them the payoff. So they pay up front to get the protection, to treat it with respect, to treat it with something that's valuable, and then it becomes something valuable. Does that make sense? A quick example of that is that there was a name that I wanted to use for my law firm initially, okay? And so initially I was gonna do it, and I was like, oh, this sounds great or whatever. But then I looked at the fee, and I was like, man, I don't have any money. This business isn't making any money. At the time, my first year in business, y'all, I made $1,800. And I was working too. I was calling people, I was doing stuff. I was like, man, I could work at McDonald's and do better than this. No shade to McDonald's. At the time, I didn't feel like the business was anything. Sometimes when you're struggling, you feel like what you have will never get better. Like literally, I can't get customers. No one wants to pay. No one wants to pay. It's not working. Then you start hearing the excuses. Oh, it's a recession. Oh, there are too many lawyers in the market. Oh, it's because you're young. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. Literally, my first year, I didn't make a lot. So to me, the business didn't seem valuable. But I'm here to tell you that you have to have a little more faith as it relates to the things that you're working on. You've got to see that everything is going to grow over time. Like, even if you're not great, if you stick with something long enough, it's going to grow. A baby doesn't stay a baby forever. The same thing with what you're doing. You've got to know that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, you're going to learn something. You're going to figure some things out. At the time, it seemed like I'd never figured anything out. But now, fast forward, a few years later, I'm looking at it like, man, I wish I had paid the money for that, because now if I show up as the multi-millionaire business owner, they're not going to sell it to me for what I could have gotten it for back then, right? So the whole point is to have vision for yourself, have vision for what you're doing, so that way you can invest in these things to protect them, knowing that in the future it's going to be worth it, all right? So let's move into the second part. Let's talk about trademark magic. So how does this work, Audrey? How can this help me? So let's say you have a course. You've created an online course. Right now, it is just a course, okay? People are only willing to pay so much for it, et cetera. You're considered a commodity. Do you know what a commodity is? That's like toilet paper. That's like a toothbrush, right? When we go to the store, no one's gonna pay $5,000 for a toothbrush. We're like, no, it's a whole bunch of them. They're all the same. That's called a commodity. But when you get a trademark, it changes you from being a commodity to now people perceiving you as being something of quality. Commodity versus quality. So let's say you have a course, you trademark that course. Now instead of it just being a course, people are seeing this as a curriculum. People are seeing this as, wow, this is a whole thing. We'll pay for that. This is something we can use. We can implement in other schools. We can teach other people how to do it. Do you see the difference? Right? The next thing is maybe you just have a class, okay? Maybe you just have a class that you're doing, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm teaching this class, et cetera. People aren't really paying much attention to it. They don't want to spend real money on it. You trademark it. You literally turn it into a methodology. Now you don't just have a class. You have a certification. This is something that people are willing to pay for, that they're willing to say, okay, great, I'm going to enroll in this program. This is something legitimate. Let's say you have a meetup. You have a Facebook group. You're doing your thing. You're bringing people together. Okay, it's just a meetup. You trademark that, turn it into a brand. Now you have what's called a mastermind. Trust me, masterminds are real, okay? Listen, $50,000 is on the low end for masterminds, all right? But that's what people are willing to pay for, because there's a different perception associated with it. You're making clothes. You think it's cool to make clothes. Hey, I'm just doing clothes or whatever. If you trademark it, now you have a clothing brand. That's totally different. That's a different perception. That's something that people want to rock with and do. And the same thing for service providers. Maybe you don't have a product or something. You're just doing a service. Guess what? If you have services, you need to trademark the names of your services. My law firm, we don't do trademarks. That's what everyone does. We have the Brand Guard package. That's our signature service. Do you see the difference? There's a regular commodity, any Joe Blow attorney that's doing that 49% success rate thing, they sell trademarks. We have the Brand Guard service. This is something that cannot be replicated because we own it, and we're the only ones that do it. Are you following me? And again, this is what allows you to be able to charge more and charge what you're worth. Now, let's show you some other things, all right? So now that helps us kind of raise the prices because we understand that perception. Now let's talk about 5 ways that you can level up. This is where that extra 10K, 50K, 100K, et cetera, can show up in your business. When you trademark your brand, now you can do apparel and merchandise. Just like that. Same service, I don't care what you're doing. You're a chef, you're cooking for people, you're doing hair, it doesn't matter. Create a merch line. Because you own it. You own the brand, etc. Easy way to add additional revenue to your business. The next thing you can do is license it. License your process. That means you're giving other people permission to do what you do, but they have to pay you, all right? License it. It's literally another revenue stream that you can add right on top of whatever you're doing. The next thing is you can franchise it now. Say you have a special way of how you cut hair, a special way of how you do accounting and bookkeeping, a special way of how you perform legal services or whatever you're doing. Now you can franchise it. Why? Because you own it. It's your system. And a franchise fee, listen, those fees start at $25,000, period. That's letting someone else that's just getting started in the industry that you're doing, that's saying, hey, I've got a model for this. I will let you use the model, but I still own the brand, and they pay you. And plus, a lot of times they pay you a percentage of revenue, too. It's kind of cool. All right, the next thing you can do is you can get investors. You can get an infusion of capital. People can give you money to help grow your thing. But trust me, they're not going to do it if you don't own the brand. That's a liability, all right? They don't want to be sued. And then the last part is my favorite. Now, I was just talking to Mike Felix over there about this, which is acquisition. Y'all, you've got to see the things that God has placed inside of you and dream bigger with them, right? Once you've figured something out, okay, you've worked hard, you've studied it, you've listened to podcasts, you've read books, you've become a master at it, you've got something that's working. One of the fastest ways to scale it is by acquisition. That means you start acquiring other people in your industry that do the same thing as you, but they're not doing it as good as you. And since you own your brand, you can then bring them onto your brand. What does this look like now? Okay, great. So I've scaled my law firm, okay? It's doing great. I've got a system for it, staff, it works. I figured something out. So what's the next play? I'm buying another one. Literally, another law firm, okay? They have their own branding. I'm going to incorporate all the things I've learned about marketing and sales and our customer journey, branding these products, all these things that we've talked about. Now you've doubled your income plus, and then you just keep stacking that and stacking that. Are you following me? It's just a way to expand that vision, and this isn't beyond anyone, all right? Now, you're seeing all these things, but the next thing is, of course, well, how do I do this, Audrey? This sounds great. This sounds awesome. I'm in. But how? I don't know how. That's a big question that stops us, and there's a great book that I recommend. It's by Dan Sullivan, and the book is literally called Who, Not How. We are taught to figure out the how. Or at least let me speak for myself. That's what I was taught. So when there was something I needed to do, I spent all this time, let me figure out how to do a website. Let me figure out how to do this. And I just dig into YouTube videos and dig into trying to figure it out. Let me tell you, if you haven't studied something, your best effort is still going to look mediocre. You know, with a website or whatever, you're not going to know the SEO. You're not going to know how to make it rank high. It's just so many other things, right? But instead, you find an expert. Who, not how. Instead of spending all that time and all of your best energy trying to be tech support and trying to figure out websites and all this other stuff, you need to just say, who can do it? Who knows how to do this? Who knows how to register my trademark? Who knows how to do X, Y, Z? You find the who. And that's the fastest way to do it. There are people that are succeeding, and it looks like they're running circles around you. And you're like, man, how are they doing all that? People ask me that. I'm a wife. I've got 4 kids. I'm running a nonprofit. I have a multi-million-dollar law firm. I'm invested in 10 apartment complexes. How's she doing all that? And I have time all the time. I still find time to work out. I have all my own time. I'm happy, all that kind of stuff. How's she doing it? Who, not how. I don't try to do everything. I'm okay with asking for help. I'm okay with leveraging all the gifts that God has given other people. I'm humble enough to know what I don't know, right? So who, not how? But then that begs the next question, which is, well, how do I pay for it? All these people are going to cost money, Audrey. How do I pay for it? Listen, everybody's got, their thoughts on this. So don't y'all, stone me when I say it, but I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I can only talk about my journey, what worked for me. And for me, the thing that changed is if you don't have it when you start out, you're going to have to invest something to get it, right? And so I learned something on my journey. Again, I was struggling with the business, couldn't make money, it was all these things. I had to be honest with myself and say, hey, I don't know what I don't know. I need to find an expert. The expert at the time that I needed, it was like a course on growing law firms and getting clients and all this kind of stuff. It was $5,000. I did not have that. So that's when I learned the difference between what we call bad borrowing versus business borrowing. That's what I call it, all right? Bad borrowing, of course, is the debt that we spend to buy purses or Jordans or video games or, trips or other things that we can't afford. Yes, that is bad borrowing. You don't need to do that, okay? You don't need to put that on credit cards. That is spending money that doesn't make you money. But if you're spending money on something that will give you a return, that is business borrowing. Let me prove, and it's very smart. It's called using other people's money. Let me prove it to you. Apple is the richest company in the U.S. They're valued at $2 trillion. How much debt does Apple have? Look it up. Billions of dollars of debt, even though they have a ton of cash. Why would the smartest people on the planet, these guys are smart. If you can get $2 trillion worth of value, why would they do that? Again, this isn't personal debt they're racking up. It's because they're literally leveraging other people's money so that they can get somewhere, right? I put that $5K on a credit card, got the course that I needed, learned the skills I needed, and that was my first year making six figures. I've never made less since. Does that make sense? So again, these are just ways and tools to allow you to do it. All right, y'all, time is up. But last thing, I promised you I was going to give you a tool to help. So either way, that's me. Find me on Instagram. If you're on Instagram right now, this is tonight only, okay? This is for the action takers, all right? Why? Because success loves speed. Success loves speed. You've got to be able to act on things. Connect with me on Instagram. DM me the word trademark if you want to learn more. And I promise you there are two tools I'm going to send to you. The very first tool is the tool to create a brand with no upfront money. There's a tool that we use at my company, literally, that will allow you to take whatever brand you have, the name of your Facebook group, the name of your business, whatever, and will allow you to put it on over 500 different products, no upfront costs, etc., and you can send that to your list and say, buy this for Black Friday. Thank you, Audrey. It literally only takes like 10 minutes to set it up, okay? That's simple. So that's the first thing I'm going to send you is this really cool tool that will let you have, for free, a store that you can use to leverage your existing brand and put it on hats, hoodies, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to pay for any merchandise. You don't have to pay for any inventory. They ship it. They do all the fulfillment, and they just pay you a cut off of everyone that buys it. It's like the easiest business ever. Everyone can do it. You don't need any skills for it. So DM me the word trademark. I'll send you that. And then the second link that I'm going to send you is a website that very few people know about, but my clients know about it, which allows you to sell brands. So that means that, let's say you have no business ideas, you have no business skills, et cetera. Did you know you can think of trademarks? You can think of names, et cetera. You register them, and other people will pay you for them. Anywhere from $2,000 up to over $100,000. In fact, I saw one on the site for $2 million. And this company promotes it for you. They market it for you, all that kind of stuff to people that want it. Because you know what? Remember in life is a two-sided coin. Meaning you may be struggling financially, you may have lack, but for someone else, their problem is they have too much money. You may have a ton of ideas, somebody else has no ideas, and they're willing to pay for that, all right? So message me the word trademark. I'll send you both of those resources. Listen, y'all, it's been a pleasure rocking with you. I applaud you for being here tonight. I'm Audrey Chisholm. God bless, and I appreciate you.